Ready or Not is one of the darkest horror games I've played in a long time. Not just because of its dark content, but because it portrays one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. Something that tragically happens every single day. And as you play through these missions, you begin to realize that the role of law enforcement isn't necessarily to stop crimes before they occur, but to impose order amidst chaos, responding to crimes as they arise. Which raises an important question. What systems are actually in place to prevent these crimes from happening in the first place? That's why today we're going to break down all 4 maps in the exploitation storyline, to examine them piece by piece to better grasp the narrative and the message it's trying to deliver. So with that said, make sure to stab the bell icon so you don't miss out on future videos like this one, because whether you're ready or not, we're getting right into the darkest corners of humanity. So to kick things off, we're assigned a mission called 23 megabytes a second. It all began with a bizarre 911 call from an individual named Michael Williams, located within the El Torrente apartment complex. According to the dispatcher log, he confessed to murdering his mother in cold blood and claimed he'd do the same to himself and his brother DeMarcus. Which, in hindsight, doesn't really add up when you think about it. It just doesn't make sense and leaves you with more questions than answers. But during the briefing, you learn that apartment 13 through 15 are all registered under Michael's name. It's unknown if there are any other threats within the building, but when breaching the premises, it becomes clear this is far bigger than a simple hostage situation, with multiple armed threats posted throughout the complex. As you sweep through, you stumble upon a massive crypto farm operation, with stacks of graphic cards touching the ceiling. But the real twist comes when you discover Michael's mother is actually alive and completely unharmed, proving that the caller was a complete fake, designed to bait a deadly police response directly towards Michael. But the real question is why? Why would someone do this? Well, the answer revealed itself the moment you raid his apartment. After neutralizing his guards, you realize this guy isn't some average streamer. He is a certified gooner, and we're talking next level depravity here. Lewd anime figures, anime posters, and of course, an anime body pillow. His streamer name is literally Milky Toes. I wish I was joking. And just when you think it can't get worse, you find out he's been taking unsolicited pictures of his neighbors, relaxing at the pool and sharing them with his friends to enjoy. But guess what? It gets worse. You find deeply disturbing images laid out in his room on full display, without a shame in the world, pulled from a private Mindjot server, suggesting that there is a lot more where this came from. And it's at this point I wouldn't even be surprised if he was a Minecraft YouTuber, but I digress. After securing the area, the story finally starts to make sense. Michael wasn't the one who made the call. He was swatted, presumably by a viewer watching his stream to bring justice upon this deviant. I mean, looking at his chat, they seem pretty happy about it. And it led to some very interesting discoveries. First is the massive crypto farm in his other apartments. Now, while crypto mining isn't illegal, the way he's been powering them absolutely is. You'll find that he's been siphoning electricity from neighboring apartments, stealing electricity to cut costs. And with an overdue balance of $24,770 and a penny, buying that new magical girl power friendship is forever statue was definitely a smart move. But Michael's desperation starts to make sense here. It's why he has guards watching over these farms to keep it running and to make sure his illegal operation doesn't get discovered and reported. But all thanks to that anonymous 911 call, Michael is now facing serious prison time, with electricity theft, possession of unsolicited photos, and illegal images on his record. Now, while this mission seems like a success, it's just the beginning, with evidence pointing to Mindjot hiding some serious crimes, holding a server filled with tons of illegal photos. And this takes us to our next mission called Sinuous Trail. In this mission, we're tasked to infiltrate Mindjot's data center in Kalina Beach to uncover the origins of these illegal photos. During the briefing, it's made immediately clear that this isn't just a shady company. Mindjot has a history of break-ins with impersonators dressed as police, and even a kidnapping that ended in the death of an employee. And even worse, you're told that some of Mindjot's staff are directly involved in criminal operations, using the company's infrastructure to traffic illegal firearms. So yeah, it's highly likely that the security team has been bought off by whoever's pulling the strings. Now, when arriving, the first thing you'll see is a massive for sale sign posted outside. And sure enough, you'll find tons of servers left outside in the elements. a blatant sign of Mindjot's financial desperation. Now, when entering the front entrance, you're immediately confronted by heavily armed security staff. They are highly aggressive and clearly guarding something they really don't want you to discover. And looking at the posters in the waiting room, you'll realize that Mindjot as a company is walking a very fine line, with posters advertising their business as the best way to keep your secrets safe and private from the spotlight, almost as if their core customers are involved in criminal activities. Now, as we continue sweeping the entrance, you'll find that Mindjot is struggling hard to stay afloat, with an email from the company's director informing staff that they are selling their high-end servers and purchasing lower quality ones from China to cut down costs, which explains the for sale sign you see outside and why there's so many goddamn servers laying around. But as we keep searching, you'll find a meeting board on the left side of the building, and see firsthand the panic that is going on within the company. You have a visual graph of Mindjot's stock plummeting to a crash, and have job listings being advertised to employees in anticipation of a complete collapse. And then you have a notepad next to a laptop with an article of Michael Williams on the front page. The notepad is titled Milky Toes Fucked Up, with a set of to-do lists to cover the tracks and erase any digital footprint to Michael or the crimes, from wiping servers, turning them offline, diverting traffic to China, and initiating leak protocols, which explains the tight security within the building. Now, not too far from here, you'll find the manager's office, and in here you'll discover an interesting email sent to Jacques saying,
I need you to have a look into this AV storage unit that one of the guys brought to me. I can't find it cataloged anywhere, and it's a bit worrying that we have a drive connected to the system that doesn't have a tracking number or a code that fits our books. Can you please ask around and check the security systems over the last week? If we still have that piece of shit running ASAP, please, Phil.
As you can tell, management doesn't really know what's going on here, seeing that he's only concerned it doesn't have a tracking number that fits their books, not what's inside of it. And adding to this mystery, there's even a voicemail from the front desk saying Mr. Vol isn't able to attend the meeting due to his daughter's birthday, and will have his associate Levi go instead. Now, it's very possible this AV guy and Mr. Vol are the same, which leads him to be a probable suspect in this investigation. And after you successfully secured the area, you're free to search for evidence, eventually finding a very suspicious storage unit labeled AV, the same guy from the email and voicemail. And on this storage unit, there's a sticky note requesting to propagate backups to Mindjot servers and to physical storage, requiring approximately a 250 terabyte drive. I don't know about you, but that's a ludicrous amount of storage. To put that in perspective, all my gameplay recordings, video edits, art projects, and YouTube videos fit on a 5 terabyte drive, and I still haven't filled it after 2 years. This guy has 50 times that, and it would take me 150 years to fill a drive that big. That's the kind of capacity you need if you were trying to achieve something huge. But knowing what we're dealing with, it's sickening that there is so much of it. Fortunately, this gives us critical evidence pointing us closer to the person behind this, which leads us to our next mission called the Spider. According to the briefing, we have a warrant for the arrest of George Brixley, a man with a dark past, having been convicted of kidnapping and has prior felony for conspiracy and sexual assault. Now, he runs a so-called talent agency out of this rundown building and acts as a scout for child performers. Before this, he served as an army officer. But recently, reports have surfaced that women and children are entering and exiting the building at all hours, with suspicious vans arriving at night for unknown reasons. And according to a homeless local, they're well armed. And as you approach the location, it's clear the row is one of Los Sueños' most poverty-stricken districts, with tents littering the sidewalks with no end in sight. But when reaching the front, you're met with a sloppy paint job over the old safe injection clinic, now plastered in bright colors with Brixley's talent time, showing just how lazy this renovation truly is. And right on the ground is a knockoff version of Hollywood's Walk of Fame, with George Brixley's name proudly painted on a star, possibly representing his obsession with fame, or to show others his expertise. Now, when entering the building, you'll find posters on the wall advertising Brixley's talent time as a place for kids to become a star and a way for parents to make easy money, with quotes like,
Is your kid fair-skinned? Are they between the ages of 5 to 10? Do they have a beautiful smile? Brixley can make them a star. Show your child you love them and give the future they deserve.
But it's very concerning how inconsistent these posters are with the age requirements. You'll find posters saying they're looking for ages 5 to 15, and then another that says 1 to 14, showing that age doesn't really matter as long as they're not adults. And as you continue toward the lounge, things escalate quickly, encountering multiple armed guards clearly protecting something sinister. On the wall, you'll quickly notice a picture of a sad girl on the board with writing next to it informing parents to fill out the child form. This is where things take a dark turn and the friendly facade falls apart. When opening the main hallway, you're met with a large hand-painted star eerily staring back at you. It's one of the most unsettling drawings I've seen in a while, and that says a lot coming from me. Now, when entering the smile room, you'll find a disturbing setup with child-sized costumes and a full green screen studio with a camera rig and all. And written on the walls are manipulative phrases to put pressure on the mothers of these kids, with sayings like,
"Do it for your children, reach for the stars, and think of the money."
And when investigating the camera, you'll hear audio of Brixley losing his temper.
Alright, kid, from the top.
I don't like this movie.
I don't care, say the line.
I don't want to.
Say the fucking line!
I'm Cowboy George, and this is the wacky wild...
God damn it, no! You know what? Get out of here! Tell your mom to come in!
A violent, dangerous man clearly unfit to be anywhere near children. And to make things worse, you can see boxes of medication most likely used on these kids to keep them under control. And exploring more of the smile room, you'll find a little area where all the photos are processed. It's truly sickening just seeing how miserable they are in these photos. But the truly disgusting part is when looking at the chat logs on a computer nearby. AV appears again, saying,
"Make the little redhead wear a princess dress."
with the staff member replying,
"Here, couldn't get her to smile though."
AV responds,
"Perfect. She's gonna look great on the covers. P.S. I'll get her to smile."
It's truly disturbing, and you can only imagine what happened after this. But as we continue sweeping the area, you'll find a Make Your Star station where children can create paper stars to hang on the ceiling. And it's eerie, realizing that all these stars on the ceiling represent a kid who's gone through this horrifying nightmare. And right next to the station, there's a mommy-only contract room. Entering, you'll find Brixley's desk with a non-exclusive contract that the mother must sign to enter their child to Brixley's talent time. And in this contract, there is a lot of control given to Brixley on what he's allowed to do in terms of the child's talents, from distribution, usage, and other services. Also, if you haven't noticed, yes, he literally just left those on the table like it's no big deal. And that's not the worst thing on the desk either. You'll find an army figurine posed obscenely on top of a doll. It's a grotesque insight into the kind of man Brixley is, and the possible extortion going on behind closed doors with the mothers. It's absolutely disgusting. But interestingly, there's a recording of Brixley talking to his therapist, and it sounds like he had some first-hand experiences in acting as a kid. But when asked about it, he quickly becomes dismissive. It adds weight to the theory that he's a victim-turned-predator, perpetuating the same cycle he may have once suffered through. But this does not excuse his actions by any sense of the word. Now, if we backtrack a little, you'll find the dressing room where the kids would change into their costumes for filming. And in this room, you'll find more sad pictures of kids in front of the green screen. And in the corner is a very revealing costume that would only be fit for an adult to wear. But knowing this situation, this is sadly not the case. And as you keep heading back, you come across Brixley's office and find a case full of money and the same illegal photos found in Michael's room, proving that we are getting closer to the sources of these photos. But after successfully securing the area and completing the mission, everything starts to make a lot more sense. Brixley's operation is a front. He scouts children for high-paying clients, then films them, and gets compensated handsomely. And the worst part is it's all strategically set up in a poor district, where you can prey on struggling families, and especially single mothers, into signing their kids away for 2 years. And it seems very likely that AV takes in some of these kids that he likes the most, with Brixley transporting them personally. Now, other than that, not much else is known about AV, but thanks to the cybercrime team, they traced numerous wire transfers that were being sent directly to Brixley's talent time for the past 6 years. turns out Val's wife slipped up and tied a transaction from the shell company to Amos' personal account, bringing us to the last chapter of this exploitation storyline called Valley of the Dolls. Now, interestingly, the mission's title is no coincidence. It's a direct nod to Jacqueline's novel Valley of the Dolls, a story about the cost of fame, beauty, and society's cruel expectations placed on women. The book explores how men use, discard, and dehumanize women, measuring their worth solely by looks, desirability, and submission. Now, I know this might feel like an odd detour, but given the game's meticulous attention to detail, it's absolutely intentional, and you'll understand why soon enough. Now, according to the briefing, we've got an arrest warrant for Amos Val and a search warrant for production of illegal material involving minors. We're warned of high-level threats with lots of ex-military personnel and law enforcement officers guarding the area, fully anticipating a breach. And coincidentally, on the same day, a huge 18th birthday party is taking place for Val's daughter, Janie, making this already complex situation even more complicated. Now, when arriving to Val's sprawling estate, it's impossible to miss his wealth. A multi-million-dollar mansion pulled straight out of Beverly Hills, and in the driveway, an extravagant car gifted to Janie for her special birthday. And interestingly, you can see just how tight security is with handheld metal detectors used to search guests as they arrive. Now, getting closer to the entrance, you'll see a sign directing guests to the party downstairs, and on the front door, a sign saying for adults only. And here's where things take a bizarre twist. If we follow the party sign, you'll find that it involves a very interesting contest. And I'm not joking here, a literal selfie contest, where guests take pictures of their feet and submit them for a raffle prize. And to make matters worse, Mr. Val himself is the judge. I don't know about you, but if my friend's dad pulled this crap at their party, I would be very concerned. But it seems guests didn't think at all how inappropriate this behavior is, because you can find photos laid around of their feet. So yeah, off to a great start. Now, going back to the entrance, as soon as you breach the front door, the atmosphere escalates instantly as you're confronted by guards on high alert. Thankfully, you manage to gain control and start to see who this Amos Val really is. You find adult statues and posters and adult films, and it becomes apparent that Mr. Val is an adult film director, with his wife Daniela appearing in a lot of these productions. And guess what might be playing on the TV in the living room? An old adult film of Daniela from the year 2011, which in itself is very weird. Why would you show videos of your wife like this to strangers? But that's not the worst part. Daniela was born in 1994, making her just 17 years old when this was filmed, making Mr. Val 30 years old when this was made. Absolutely disgusting. But this is only the beginning, and as we continue sweeping the area, we'll find Mr. Val in Daniela's room. And oh boy, is there a lot to talk about here. First thing that catches your eye is the makeshift film set around the bed, hinting recent productions were made here. And in this room, you can find DVD cases with very concerning titles, such as Alicia B, age 18, maybe. A lot of these films, he isn't even sure if their age is legal, with him putting question marks on most of these cases. And it's hard not to notice the insane amount of adult film awards in this showcase. It really does put in perspective just how popular Amos' films actually are. Now, when we continue moving down the hallway and descending the stairs, you'll encounter more guards, making things very challenging with you left out in the open. Thankfully, we managed to take control of the situation and make it to the second floor of the mansion. And here's where you encounter a huge statue unlike the rest. It's one of the only statues made by Daniela herself. The figure is curled up, terrified, sitting on the floor, with a chilling inscription on the base that reads,
"I just want to fuck whether you like it or not."
A sentence that could only have come from Val's mouth. It's a haunting glimpse to how Mr. Val has been treating her, and this was her way of pushing back, displaying how cruel her husband truly is. And this brings us full circle to Valley of the Dolls. Daniela's story feels very similar to three of the female characters in the book that become famous in some way but don't get the outcomes they wanted because of a man in their lives. Now, one rings especially close to what she's going through, and that's Jennifer North. In the book, she becomes famous for her beauty and alluring appeal in the film industry. But after getting the fame she wanted, she was only getting noticed for her looks, struggling with being seen as nothing more than a body. This causes her to spiral into deep despair and sense of worthlessness. And I can only imagine that Daniela's story is the same. Getting lured by promises of fame, she trusted him and immigrated from Russia to the US and got married to Val, getting her green card, only to realize that Val saw her as nothing more than a body, forced to be complicit, wearing a mask for normalcy in public, and was forever stuck in this nightmare of a relationship. That is, until now. I mean, think about it. The warrant for Val's arrest exists only because of Daniela's slip-up. But what if this wasn't a mistake? What if this was her seizing the moment, realizing law enforcement was closing in on her husband, finally able to seek justice for all that she's been through? This was her plan all along, and it makes this mission all the more important. So, we keep moving forward, sweeping the middle area, taking down any threats in our way. And that's when we encounter Janie's room, and thankfully, her future looks very bright, with plans to attend Greenside Ecological College and aims to make a difference for animals worldwide. It's such a stark contrast between Janie's normalcy and her father's depravity. It's honestly refreshing after all we've been through, but besides her fascination with the ecosystem, you can find pictures of Janie and her biological mother, along with a family photo with her dad boldly crossed out in Sharpie, showing just how much she despises her dad. There's even evidence of her trying to sell the expensive car gifted for her birthday in an act to distance herself from his world. Now, I don't think she knows too much beyond that he is a deviant and partakes in certain drugs, only caring about himself. She's totally unaware of what's been going on behind closed doors, but it truly brings a smile to my face seeing that she's avoided the unhealthy lifestyle surrounding her dad. Now, as we continue clearing the second floor, we come across a very familiar set of letters, AV. And when opening the door, you find Amos Val's office. And when looking at his desk, it's clear he has meticulously destroyed all evidence tying him to illegal crimes, from emptying the safe, corrupting the computers, and erasing all drives with a powerful fishing magnet. And outside, you can even find a pile of recently burned files and a crude attempt to get rid of evidence. But other than that, there's not much else on the second floor, which leads us to downstairs. And again, there's not much to look at besides the weird mini theater playing adult films. But you do find a mysteriously long stairway leading to the basement. And heading to the entrance, you find it heavily guarded. And for good reason too. This is when shit hits the fan. When entering the basement, nothing too strange is apparent, but when going through the right door, your stomach drops. A nursery setup lies before you. A crib and a small bed decorated for children with studio lights and a camera rig. The room itself says very little, but your mind reels, piecing together the horrific implications, the disgusting crimes that took place here. And as you continue forward into the hallway, it doesn't get much better. You find a game of hopscotch drawn on the floor, and all of this is really starting to get to you now, knowing the type of man you've been hunting for so long. The dread intensifies. You then enter the red room and quickly take control of the situation, neutralizing all threats, and begin to process the horrors of this room. All across the walls and counters are illegal photos of both boys and girls, and it's at this point it becomes physically hard to continue forward. But with the mission at hand, you keep going and enter a tucked away room where you finally arrest Amos Val. A room that ever so perfectly reflects the man within, a sick, twisted individual. And all along the walls is a collage of a girl with pictures covering all parts of the room. It's not made clear, but this could be Amos Val's next target, or old photos of either his wife or even worse, his daughter. And on the walls, you'll find disturbing phrases that are just so gross I don't even want to say them. And looking at the mattress on the floor, it's clear Val has been living down here, indulging in unspeakable acts. And all I can say is it's super unfortunate that he got shot in the crossfire. Now, after completing most of the mission and securing the building, we can farther investigate what's been going on here. And just when you think things can't get any worse, you'll find thousands upon thousands of DVD cases filled with illegal photos, each labeled with the names and ages of each victim. And it's so horrific seeing so many victims displayed like this, just another number to the shelf. And moving on to the last room in the basement is where you'll find a huge pit has been dug out to put barrels underneath the floor. using cement to cover the evidence as if nothing happened. And at first, it doesn't seem like much. Maybe some of the kids' clothes and toys are stuffed into these barrels to get rid of evidence. But a closer inspection reveals flies hovering over them, suggesting that the barrels contain human remains, with their toys left to rot beside them. This is when it becomes clear as to what happened. Amos Fall would take his victims down to the basement where he would exploit and film them, and when he eventually got bored, would get rid of the evidence altogether and bury them, moving on to the next victim. A truly disgusting monster that deserves worse than prison. Each map exposes a brutal truth that these predators can be anywhere. A beloved streamer, a company, a child entertainer, and even a family member. And the scariest part is you would never know till it was too late. And that is probably the scariest message within the storyline. That no matter how hard law enforcement fights, there will always be victims lost in the cracks. They don't prevent crimes from happening, they are taking action after the fact to bring order to chaos. And by the time we get to the source, we are far too late, with so many victims lost to these monsters. And the game even shows you that. If you achieve an S rank on Valley of the Dolls, you unlock evidence of a disturbing painting with a note from a shady administration, thanking Amos for all that he's done. So even though you've arrested Amos Fall, there are still so many others out there just like him that we haven't caught. It's hard to feel like you've truly done something when in the grand scheme of things, you only caught one guy. It's just a hard pill to swallow because these aren't just numbers on a screen. These are real victims that weren't saved in time. That is why Ready or Not is one of the darkest, most sickening horror games I played in a long time. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. For more content, consider supporting me on Patreon, or learn how Poppy Playtime is more real than you think, representing the historical mistreatment of kids within orphanages and the foster care system. With that said, thanks for watching, and see you next time.